Welcome back, Wazoo Nation. I'm excited to be back once again. I hope you really enjoyed the last episode with Artie, as I did, and I'm sure there'll be more to come with this guy. I'm, he's a very interesting man, and a lot more stuff to hear from. Anyhow, as I had mentioned in the last episode, I mentioned these next episodes will be based on drugs, which will be this one, and then rock and roll, which will be the next one following this. So let's get down to business and we'll talk about this episode. Now, you have to understand back in the day when I was growing up, this was back in the late 70s, early 80s, drugs, especially cocaine, was a whole different type of world. It was a little bit more accepted as a comparison now because most people did not realize how much a drug like that could impact it and destroy people's lives. But anyhow, I'm just trying to give you a sense of what was going on. When I was growing up in eighth grade, you would get I don't know, four finger bags they would call for $30, and you would sell joints, and you maybe could get 45, 50 joints out of it for $1, and try to make a profit as a starting, I guess, a starting process of learning how to sell drugs. And then you get to meet different people over time. And when I was in grade school, I obviously had my friends, and I actually had later on you'll find out that I did know a lot of people with good connections, and that made me actually excel, I would say, in the business or prosper well enough. And back in the day, you have to understand, I would do deals. You would do deals with friends, and then when you start growing up, you start dealing with people you didn't really know, and it was a different type of thing. But you always would do something like that based on a recommendation of someone that you knew, and I was able to do stuff like that, and I was selling pot, and I was, back then, I guess, for example, I'll explain a great story about my job, my career as an Andy Frame usher. The same people that are for people that don't want to understand, Andy Frame ushers were the people that were at Wrigley Field and Soldier Field and stuff like that, that would sit you down. Majority of the time was a person that guy should have been in a wheelchair. He was so damn old because he's been doing the job for such a long time. But I was one of the youngsters that would do jobs, and I have very interesting stories about that, which I'll get to later on, which actually will be brought up more so in the next episode when I talk about rock and roll. And I learned, through people, older people, about, I guess, learning how to sell and, dealing with pot and, when you were getting LSD and stuff like that, and whatever the case may be, hashish. I learned a little bit over time. And as time was going on, when I was moving to totally different neighborhoods and rougher neighborhoods, but I got to know people, and that's when I started dwelling to more bigger, I guess, sizes and learning how to get to cheaper prices and trying to learn how to make money. Now you have to understand, if I was selling pot and I'd make myself $3, $4 maybe a week on a good week, this was like probably in high school, sophomore year of high school. I mean, I was feeling pretty damn good. Now at that time, I was a young kid and I'm driving a decent car and all this stuff. When I was a sophomore, I had to have some sort of thing. I had to have a job, and that's how I got the Andy Frame job. But that job was only paying $2.15 an hour, and I wasn't doing 40 hours a week over there. So you do the math. There's not very much money to be made in that. But I had it basically as a front, you would say, because when I was selling drugs, I was making pretty good money. So this what leads me to the story how I actually got really big into it, because I was happy with just selling pot, but this was the deal where it really, I don't know, changed my life. It really did. I remember going to school. I thought I was a hot shot. I was selling pot and everything like that. But anyhow, I was dabbling in cocaine. Now back then, cocaine was like maybe like $250 an 8 ball, which is 3.5 grams. I don't know what's going for now, but it's something. But the deal is a pretty decent buck, right? And but back then, cocaine stuff like that was much stronger, much purer, and it was a whole different story. Well, that's why when you hear unfortunate people dying with getting cut with all this shit, we never had that problem growing up. when we were doing cocaine, my goodness, it was you have to worry about dying if you OD'd, if your heart collapsed because you smoked an ounce of it or something like that, freebasing or something like that, which was lighting up the cocaine. We'll go into details also about that anyway. But anyhow, there's one Greek kid I used to know who was a student, and I'm not going to mention names. There's no need to, but anyways, his brother, older brother, actually was big in the drug business, and he actually had real connections. They get big, large amounts of cocaine, which obviously the kilo was the big thing, 2.2 pounds, 1,000 grams. And I remember back then, I think the most I ever even did a deal for was, geez, if I was lucky, maybe you know, an 8 ball, a quarter ounce, where a bunch of our friends would, you know, pitch in for it. And that day, he goes, "Hey, I'm doing a deal with these guys, Latin Kings, which is a gang in the city of Chicago. I'm not going to mention the corner, no need to. But anyhow, and we sell them 2 kilos of cocaine." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, first I'm thinking, why are you telling me? I don't give a shit. And he's like, "Well," and I asked him, "What are you asking me for? Why do I care?" And he goes, "Well, dude, you know what? I'm a little hesitant. Um, and I'm kind of like, I need a little support, something like that." I go, first of all, I go, I'm a kid in high school. I'm not sitting there packing with guns and stuff like that. The worst thing we would have, my goodness, it would be an aluminum bat in your damn car if you got in a fight or a ruckus with somebody on the streets. And I just, come on. He goes, "No, no, dude." And I go, "Dude, if you're so concerned, why even deal with these guys?" Well, I guess basically he's done deals leading up to this. Did one deal for a kilo previously, went well, and then all of a sudden he asked for cheaper prices and one like that, and try to find out who his source is, because basically that's what I'll talk about it later in the future too. What people always would do. Why could I get it from you when I can just get it from you're getting from you? You'll get a cheaper price. But anyhow, I told him no. I go, "Fuck that." He goes, "Come on, dude, I'll pay you." He goes, "I'll give you $500 for each. It'll be $1,000." I go, "Dude, I don't know about you now." So I go home that day, not realizing my Mr. Big Time, go home smoking my joint, walking in the house, and my mom working her ass off all the time. God rest her soul. And my mom would never would be home during the afternoon. Never. Unless she was sick. And that was so rare, it would have to be a flu that would knock a bull down, for God's sake, before she would ever take a day off of work. And I, of course, as a dumb child, not realizing she had to pay the bills, to send me to Catholic school, to do all the things that I had no idea was going on. And when I did, I didn't appreciate it enough as much as I appreciate it now. So anyhow, I come home, she's home. I go, "What the fuck?" You know, it was really weird. I go, "Mom, what's going on? Everything okay? You okay?" And she was, you could tell, crying, upset. And it really hurt. I mean, it hit me in a weird way, because back then, I mean, people, people think I'm a little crazy, ruckus and like that, and overbearing, whatever you may say. But when I was young, I was nuts, possibly. I mean, probably certifiable in some ways. Oh, yeah. But I was concerned with my mom. "Mom, what's going on?" And she was, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, because I think I realized this when really my life, it was changing, and changing not for the better, but changed because I had to. Kind of almost like an animal, and it has to adapt to survive. I mean, it's kind of a weird analogy, but we were supposed to be at the top of the animal species, but sometimes we're not. But anyhow, all I can remember is my mother saying, "Hey, what's going on?" She goes, "Oh, Eddie, please. I just got to tell you, I haven't paid last month's rent, and I think it was made like it was beginning of May, because I was getting ready to leave Weber High School sophomore year, and I don't have this month's rent." And I went, "You have to understand, my mom raised me when my mother father had gotten divorced when we were 6 years old. So she raised me from another country with nobody, and did an incredible job and did everything to do 3 jobs. She used to work for the Zenith Corporation, was in the city of Chicago on Narragansett Avenue, and you know, yeah, like I said, it's terrible because I'm just going crazy with my mind right now. But thinking about it, it's like I never realized how much she was going through, and then at that time, it kind of hit me like a brick, and I go, "Wow!" I mean, it was the first kind of taste of a situation where that's what we came on government cheese. We were this close living on the streets. We had to live at a friend's home for a few months until my mom got a job back and all this stuff, and it's like something that just hits you in the wall because you think you're at the top of the world, and then the next minute, no, you're not. No. And I remember my mom says the words to me, I'll never forget. She goes, "Eddie, I need you to promise me one thing, please. Promise me." And I go, well, sure, Mom. Forget about it. I didn't say forget about it like that. But I said, sure, Mom, whatever. And she goes, whatever you do, please do not touch, hit, or do anything to the landlord. She's telling the guy's name, some Bosnian guy's name, but I'm thinking, he was a little guy. He was kind of friendly. I mean, he was that kind of, something that I would think that would be, what are you talking about? I had nothing bad or any kind of dispute with him in any way, or we didn't like each other. We just was just normal, right? Hardly ever saw him like that. She goes, please, please, I need you to promise to be on your grandfather's grave. My grandfather, my name's Eddie. I'm named after my grandfather, Edward Werner. I said, sure, Mom, no problem. Not really why. What the fuck is he? So, needless to say, I think I have a snack. And you have to look at the layout right now. Right now, let's just imagine right now my man cave is just a room, and then right there, say there's a door right there, and there's my bedroom, and it's a small room. Now, granted, our kitchen was forget about it, was half the size, but would be off the side. So I'm listening right now, like I got my headphones on right now, jamming, feeling great. It's Rush 2112. And anybody knows that thing? I'm looking at the back of the album, and I'm listening to my headphones, is jamming. And then I'll never forget, towards the end, there's a thing where they said the very end, the ending of the song goes, "We have assumed control. We have assumed control. We have consumed control." And right then, when it stopped, I hear a little bit, and I take my headphones like this, off. And then I hear my mom cry. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. My mom, God rest her soul, had some of the biggest balls of any human being I ever saw. In fact, I get my balls from my mother, my grandmother. I've probably said it before, and I'll say it again and again and again. She was sitting there crying her eyes out, and this little guy like sitting there pointing a finger at me, like it was a man accusing his wife like of cheating on him. It was like so over, over the top. There was no reason for this whatsoever. Now, granted, we had moved around a lot, my mother and I, quite a bit, right? Quite a bit to apartments, stuff like that. And my mom, we were there for a year, paid her rent all the time, and she loses her job. Things like that happen all the time. And I still never forget my mom sitting there crying. And I'm just like, at first I'm like, wow, my heart's just dropping. And then I got angry. I got real fucking angry. I remember the rush. I remember back in the old days when I never really liked to, but if I ever had to get in a fight, and if I did get in a fight, I could feel like a rush coming from my bottom of my goddamn feet all the way through my body, all the way up to that, which is like, feel it like I was having Superman. So I will never forget the guy's eyes when I opened that door and he saw me looking at him. I mean, it was like a deer in the headlights getting ready to be slammed by a semi. And it was going to be one. Anyhow, I run up to him. I grab him by the effing collar. And back then, I was a pretty big kid. I mean, about the same size as I am now, maybe a little less, but in better shape. Well, I mean, better shape. Not like, oh, like Humpty Dumpty, but whatever the case may be. I grabbed him, I slammed him against the damn wall. And I remember like staring in my eyes, and I started pointing in his fucking face, see how he liked it. I said, "You're a one lucky motherfucker." And I said, "My mother made me promise at my grandfather's grave, a man I loved, many few men in this world I loved and respected at that point, that I wouldn't touch you, I wouldn't hurt you, and no matter what, I won't touch you." And I said, "Well, that was for today. Tomorrow's a different day." So anyhow, long story short, I told him, "I ever see you get your money tomorrow. I ever see you come up those stairs again, doing something like this, guy, I'll beat the living shit out of you, drag you down those stairs, and throw you right to your wife." And just like, "This is the piece of shit you fucking married." So that's when we get back to the Greek. I decided to do the deal. I tell him, "Wazoo, this is what we got to do. You and I drive two different vehicles. I have my car, which was a very nice car at the time, 1971 Monte Carlo SS, pearl white. Oh, man. But anyhow, I knew the city, I knew the hoods. So I parked it on a very busy street near Humble Park, and I had my shit in that trunk. He and I drove in the car over by them. The first thing we walked in, there was back then, there was a whole bunch of people in there, like a party. You know, one guy here and an older guy here and a whole bunch of young kids around him. And I remember when we were walking in, they were all talking Spanish. And I remember a couple year ago, before that, I had a friend of mine in Puerto Rico said, "Tell me all the bad words, because if I know if you're swearing, I know you're talking bad about me, but I didn't know swear words." And the first thing the guy goes, "What the hell are you doing here?" I go, "Forget about it. I'm glad you asked." Understand, most time we used to do deals, it'd be one on one or maybe a couple people, not a party. And I told him, "You know what? I don't know. We've been doing this for a little while." And my friend asked me to come by with him. And at first, I wondered why, but now I know why. Why are all these guys over here? So he goes, "You got the stuff?" "Yeah, we got it, but we ain't got it with us." And the scenario is, what's guy? Why do all these guys here? So, anyways, he says something in Spanish when they walk off, except for one guy. And I go, "You asked me why I'm here, and I'm glad you asked." He said he was very suspicious, blah, blah, what's going on here. So this is why we do it. We got this stuff, no problem. We want no problems. But I go, "I could see that you had a corner down there. It was loaded with people lined up buying his stuff because it's top of the line stuff. And all I know is my father used to say, which one, not many things, never bite the hand that feeds you. So if we rip him off, because that's what he was concerned about, you see, then you'll never get the same shit again. And they won't be lined up like they are now. Because back then in cocaine, the better the quality you had, the more you could put on it, but still be good enough that people enjoy it, they'll be lined up. So let's get to the point. Long story short, the deal was we go, "You come with us." He had the money. This guy's carrier had the money. We drove right to my car, opened the trunk, blah, 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 did the swap, drove him back, dropped him off, and the deal was done. Needless to say, the Wazoo never did a deal with him again because he was still fucking scared shitless to fucking do the deal with him. But at least he didn't get ripped off. But that was the very beginning. That's when I, that $1,000, I had some cash myself on the side of $550. So I, 575 was weird. Weird number how it was so close. I took $1,100 because my rent was $550, and took $1,100, gave to the son of a bitch, says, "I better never see you again upstairs. You'll have your money. You'll have your money underneath your door every first of the month." And the rest is history. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was from the heart. I don't bullshit. I don't have to. I've had so many crazy things in my life happen. That's why I'm telling everybody. And I think they're very interesting. And what's going to lead to my next show, next episode, it will be about rock and roll. And what I love about that is I've had so many crazy things happen with dealing with rock and roll with me, working at concerts, going to concerts, having situations come across rock and roll heroes, but not seeing them, which I'll get into detail. I will have a special guest in that show. There's one of my best friends named Pony, and we'll explain how he got that name. He's a chef. I grew up with him in grade school, but he and I did so many things together from getting high for so many years and going to so many unbelievable concerts that I believe that you definitely, especially if you're a rocker, you'll think they're very interesting. So take care. Love you all.